Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Holistic Monitor, and I'm your host, Nic Scogna. On today's show, we're going to be going over brainwaves, and most specifically, theta brainwaves, and what the benefit is in controlling your brainwaves for memory and for learning. So we ask, what is the purpose of brainwaves? What are brainwaves? Your brain is constantly producing bursts of electrical activity. This is how the clusters of neurons in your brain communicate through these electrical storms within each other. Okay. When your brain produces these electrical impulses, this is what is known as brainwave activity. So when there is no brainwave activity, you're brain dead. Your brain produces 5 different types of brain waves, each of which operates at a different speed. From fastest to slowest, the 5 types of brain waves include gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. In this episode, we're going to be mostly covering the benefits of theta, the function of theta, and how it's different from the other types of brain waves. Now, you may have heard of alpha as a number 1 alpha type of brainwave, the real go-getter, but really in alpha waves, it's more like in sync and meditative. For our purposes, theta is a brainwave pattern that really exhibits what we want, which is the increased learning and increased memory. Theta resides below alpha. So theta would be like lucid sleep or just before you get real deep into sleep. So what are theta brainwaves? Theta brainwaves occur when you sleep or dream, but they don't occur during the deeper stages of sleep. They can occur when you are falling asleep or suspended in that light phase of sleep, the lucid state, just before waking up and just as you're falling asleep. Theta brainwaves can occur when you are awake, but typically that's only when you're deeply relaxed, when you're kind of on autopilot and just going through the motions, zoning out real hard. Okay. Not really focusing on anything specifically here and now. Now, if you do experience high levels of theta waves while you're awake, you can feel real groggy, unmotivated, and unable to concentrate. Now, experts believe that theta waves are important for processing information and creating memories. And as researchers and academics learn more about how they work and how they relate to different types of learning, it can be useful in determining how best to help people, ourselves. Now, how are they measured? That's a great question that comes up. How do they know? They use an EEG, an electroencephalogram, and that's basically assesses the electrical activity going on in the brain and records the waves. This is how we know what different states are producing what different waves. I recently heard that babies, 1 and 2 year old and under, are in a delta brainwave pattern. I don't have research to back that up, but it makes a lot of sense that they're in a kind of a deep dream state as far as brain activity goes. I do seem to think that 1 and 2 years old, they're learning so much that their activity in their brain is actually on fire, but apparently delta waves is where they're existing, so like a deep sleep. 2 to 10, I think it is kids that are 2 to 10 years old are existing in theta, which we call lucid. Again, memories, deep learning, but again, so much learning is going on. I feel like there's a lot of focus and I'm not sure how accurate that those statements would be, but something to keep in mind that while we were young, we were doing a lot of impressing upon ourselves as far as memories go and learning new things, and we may have been in a subconscious state, like theta waves, in a lucid state, learning, existing, experiencing. And this could be why some kids are able to see their imaginary friends, quote unquote, and that they're actually having another and possibly a better perception into different dimensions. So getting back to this, on theta waves, they're measured in cycles per second, which is the hertz. And we have read about this in Project ISIS, the fundamentals of human electricity. We learn all about the electricity of the body. Different waves occur at different times, depending on what you're doing and how you feel. So if you're not feeling great and your concentration is low, it could mean that your brain activity is slowing. So think of your brain waves as a spectrum or a radial spectrum that goes very fast to very slow. The spectrum would not be complete without all of the brain waves. So theta waves fall near the lower end of the spectrum. They are slower than alpha waves, but faster than delta waves. The EEG measures theta waves in the range of 4 to 8 hertz. Now, all 5 types of the brain waves have different but important roles to play when it comes to health and wellness. At various times of the day, different types of brain waves will be active, and this is normal. Certain factors can disrupt this natural cycle. Stress, to name one, big one. Medications, of course. Lack of sleep, and I would also say too much sleep, can also affect these normalized brainwave patterns. Gamma waves are the fastest of all brainwaves. They oscillate up to 100 hertz range, maybe even higher than that. Light bulbs are working at 60 hertz. Okay, so when you're going up that high with your mind and your mindset, your brainwave activity, you're really driving a lot of concentration. So mainly gamma waves are produced when you're intensely focused on something or fully engaged in solving a problem. You're probably at your peak when your brain is emitting gamma waves, though I would say highly likely for burnout as well. Just below the gamma waves in the spectrum are the beta waves, and these waves fall in the range of 12 to 38 hertz. These are the brain waves that dominate when you're awake, alert, and busy. You may have relatively faster waves or high beta that occur when you are engaged in very complex thought processes. Or you may have slower or low beta waves, which tend to occur more when you are reflecting on something. A little bit more of a daydream, dropping you closer to alpha state. Now, what is alpha? If you are sitting quietly, meditating, or just deeply relaxed and not concentrating on any thought, this is your alpha waves. Alpha brainwaves measure between 8 and 12 hertz and fall right in the middle of the spectrum. So I say that 8 hertz is the happy place. It's the low alpha and the high theta. That's the place to be. when you go to sleep, if you are able to slowly fall into a dream, you're passing through the theta, and then into sleep, you're going into delta. At the bottom of the brainwave spectrum, below the theta waves, the deep and slow delta waves occur. Now they go from 0.5 to 4 hertz. Both delta waves and theta waves occur when you sleep, but delta waves are the waves that dominate when you're in a period of deep, restful sleep. So you do want to hit delta every day. Are you able to work with these in some way to gain access to changing or fluctuating your brain waves? Yes, absolutely. And that really is the point of this episode. You can meditate and begin a practice of meditation, even do light activity like yoga to drop yourself and your brainwave pattern down to the lower hertz range in the alpha. For some, there is a little goal to try and access the dream space, the theta waves, from the meditation. So, dreaming awake. There are methods to help increase your likelihood to wake up while you're dreaming. This is one of the best ways to start accessing the low theta or the upper delta. A very wild world. If you've ever done it, if you've ever woken up in your dreams, I'd love to hear about it. I'm going to post a comment or send a voice memo. I would love to hear some stories about your dreams of waking up and what kind of activities you've been able to perform. For a long time, I had it as a goal to see myself sleeping, and I did achieve that. But initially, I would always find a mirror and see myself in the dream, which was definitely a way to wake up real fast and have an uncontrollable descent out of the brainwaves into alpha, into a wakefulness. But at one point I did see myself sleeping, and it was the most interesting connection I had with that myself sleeping. It felt like it was a connection directly to the heart, almost felt like a heart attack, to tell you the truth. But it did wake me up right away. It was such shock. But for a long time I had that as a goal, to try and see myself sleeping. I remember I was doing some kind of dream, and then I was being chased. It's very typical. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to run to where I'm sleeping in the dream. So wherever I was, I started running to where I was sleeping. And I ran up the stairs, and I opened the door, and there I was, and I woke up. It was a moment. Me and myself had a moment. And but yeah, very strong energy and electrical current, and it woke me up real quick. I've had a lot of dreams of flying. Some of these border on theta. I'm slightly aware. I become a little bit more aware that I can just about do anything in my dreams, and then I start to fly or start to move around fast or do large leaps. I definitely seem to like to run and jump really high, a whole lot. But what have you experienced? Have you had some more active dreaming where you're able to do more activity or seek out things in your dreams, answers or people, places, whatever it may be? There's a whole world inside if you're willing to go in there. And it takes a little bit of effort, but the rewards seem to be pretty great when you can active dream. I have set my internal clock to go off right before my alarm goes off in the morning, so that I have a little bit of meditation time where I can go through my day and do my own processing for the day, and utilizing theta wave dream space or lucid dreaming to help anticipate the things that might occur during the day. I get a lot out of that, I find it's very helpful and helps me prepare for some unexpected things. I'm not sure if anybody else is doing that or has done that, but I find it to be very valuable morning meditation, lacing my meditation with the lucid state of partially being awake. Now, are there any other methods to manipulate the brainwaves? Most specifically, to get into that theta, or potentially in the delta, depending on where you want to go, or alpha. There is a method that is not proven, and I guess not accepted in the academic circles, but the binaural beat is a way of entrancing the brainwave with a beat that's a little slightly faster on one side, one ear, and another circuit at usually 200, 250, something like that on one end, and 203 on the other, or 253 on the other ear, and having the beats go between ears very fast, very rapidly, pushing the brain waves to at the specific carrier, drive it down towards a lower hertz rate. Apparently this works within 10 minutes, so that's really not too much time or devotion. With these binaural beat machines, you can achieve a meditative state within 10 minutes, or some people never get to meditate at all. So I feel like it's pretty valuable. If you're a clinician, you work with clients, that could be a great end or beginning to therapy sessions. I could see the advantage in massage therapy, where you would have your client come in and then drop them into a alpha or theta state, so that kind of get the outside world off of them and lower their levels a little bit, so that when you go to do the massage or the body work or energy work, that the brain waves aren't in the way. Their electrical impulse isn't in the way of the healing process that their body's going to undergo in the session. Does anybody out there use the binaural beat method? To me, that seems like a really awesome way to get into changing the brainwave activity to a more manageable and usable way within 10 minutes. I mean, that's just fantastic. So I'd love to hear some feedback on brainwaves, on dreaming, and potentially anything that you do to work with your brainwave patterns and mindset, whether that be meditation, active dreaming, lucid dreaming, extra rest. Pretty much anything would work, right? Because your brainwaves are going to fluctuate depending on your conscious level. So if you're making sure you get extra sleep, you're also making sure that you're getting extra delta, extra theta, to help balance out maybe those gammas. Gammas are useful, but again, on that high range, I would expect some burnout to come about from that within short order, and a high demand for a balance with delta. To me, 8 hertz, low alpha, high theta is the way to go. Now, what is your experience? Are you using theta waves in your daily life? Do you use it with your patients or your clients? I'd love to hear more. Please drop me a comment wherever you're hearing this podcast, and let's discuss. Let's have a discussion about how you're using the alpha waves or the theta waves to increase your serenity and lower your stress. I would love to do an interview if you've got a clinic or a practice where you're utilizing any of the dichotic work as far as the brain responses to the binaural beats, or some other method that you're using. I would love to get an interview with somebody that's working with their clients to reduce stress, or to perhaps do past life recall or something of that nature. If you're using it in your daily life for your meditation practice, what's working best? You can leave a voice message with me at the anchor page for the Holistic Monitor. You can also leave a comment wherever you're hearing this podcast. So that's going to be the end of our episode for this time around on theta waves and brainwave patterns. I'm hopeful that I'll get some feedback from y'all, and our next episode involving brainwaves will have some of that commentary to go over, and perhaps even an interview. That would be great. Are you using it in your practice? Are you using it in your meditation practice? These are all things I'd love to hear more about, and how you're gaining access to controlling those brain waves and drawing them down towards the alpha or the theta or even the delta. I do hope you learned something in this podcast. Be sure to go to our YouTube channel, where you can find out all sorts of information on SAF and see videos for these podcasts as well. We also have our school, the Institute for Modern Holistic Alchemy, which is modernholisticalchemy.com, with lots of courses, and our free SAF course, which will allow you to learn about SAF, the history of it, the application of it, and what is it. So, signing off. Until next time, be well.